All right, we're going to get started. I'm using the microphone because he is videotaping. So for those that could not make it, we'll put it on the website. So I have to use that. Otherwise, I would just use my inside voice. And for those who do not know who I am, I'm Tiffany Brunson, the very proud superintendent of Elementary School District 159. All right, and before we get started, I want to thank our board for their continued support as we are trying to create a very healthy school environment for our students. And so we have some of our board members here: Carl Scott, Jeremy Phillips. So today I'll speak for a while, and then Dr. McCoy, and then, last but certainly not least, we will have Chuck Evans, Officer Evans, and we are going to tag team this topic, and we're going to get started. Of course, everything we do is rooted in our core values to be student-centered, transparent, innovative. We want to make sure that we are making all of our decisions and working with the highest integrity. We want to make sure that there's mutual respect between us, accountability, and partnership. Again, our mission statement, our board secretary is here. She says it's a lot, but our mission: to educate, empower, and inspire the whole child. And then our vision statement: Elementary School District 159 will establish a shared culture that fosters a student-centered approach to learning and personal development using best practices and educational resources. And what you will see that mission and that vision statement living and breathing in this discussion that we are about to engage in. Thank you very much, parents, for coming. We really appreciate you being here. Another board member, Ken Williams, he just came in. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. We have some of our, of course, wonderful staff here. We have our principals here. And yes, clap for our principals, our staff. So as I like to say, we're going to have a family meeting. So this is going to be our discussion. Everyone who knows me know I like to start everything with a quote or something to ground our discussion. And I think we can all agree that schools should be the safest place in any community. And so when we talk about safety, it's not just our physical safety, but it's also our psychological safety as well. Meaning, our students should be able to have conflicts with each other, but have the tools to navigate those conflicts, as well as being able to be in a school where they feel cared for, genuinely loved, and that they know that there is someone here that always will have their best interests at heart. So I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. Part of this is to let the community know about the comprehensive plan that we have as it relates to health and safety. Because safety isn't just, like I said, about physical safety. It is also about how you feel about yourself and how you make good choices. Our students come to us like clay, right? And we have to know that we have to mold them, and we have to pour into them, and we have to teach them how all of the wonderful things that we as adults know how to do, be able to communicate their feelings, be able to articulate when they are, there's discomfort, and then be able to navigate through conflicts. So we have put together a pretty comprehensive plan as it relates to SEL. So Panorama, PBIS, Second Step, our social workers, counselors, counseling services, what is Aaron's Law, and then Candor services. And I'm going to go through those pretty quickly. Panorama is the system in which we use to do screenings for our students as it relates to their social, emotional well-being. And there's a series of questions that your young people, our young people, they engage in from grades 3rd through 8th grade. And what we do with that information, it lets us know the students' social emotional well-being and kind of what assistance they need. And so in order for us to know that, they go through this survey. And it also is pretty comprehensive because that's where we house grades, is where we house other student information system, student information. And what we try to do is look at our students in a very 3D way, if you will, or 4K, as we want to talk about in 2023, but a very comprehensive. What are they like as a school, as a student in our schools? And so we use Panorama as a way for us to track. It also provides us with tools as staff to address the issues and the needs of our students. So this slide right here just kind of puts everything together. SEL, what is it? And then how we marry it with PBIS. So it provides explicit instruction. We promote emotionally safe environments. And some of the core competencies, I'm going to read them: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making skills, and is married to or connected to our positive behavior intervention system that we use, which it provides explicit instruction as well, promotes a physically safe environment, and then focuses on these competencies: common purpose, common language, and common approach to discipline within a school system, a school setting. And once you put all of those together, everything in the middle is what when these things are done with fidelity, this is the outcome. Focus on prevention, because a lot of times people want to decrease things, like we want to decrease in suspensions, but in order to decrease those, you have to increase something else. So we really try to be focused on both sides of it. How do we give our young people the tools so that if they have a conflict, it doesn't result in a fight or things like that? And so the other is we want to build staff, school, and system proficiency, contribute to safe, welcoming, and caring classrooms. Everything is very explicit in the instruction and the curriculum integration, and practice, acknowledgement, and reinforcement. So if you look around in Colin Powell, you'll see the same. So right here, you see these signs right here. It says cafetorium, and our 3 B's are be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. So you have them here in the cafetorium because that's where we are. And then they're for dismissal, arrival, how to behave on the bus, how to behave in the classroom, when there are, how do they behave when there is an unsafe situation, all of those things. These things so that the students know exactly what to do when they are in certain areas or in certain situations. Second step is our program. Our principals did a great job, and it is a lot of work when we have these mandates or requirements from the state, trying to figure out, we have to get in our academics, now we have to be focused on SEL, and it's not a which one of those do we sacrifice. They're all equally as important. And so we have to make sure that we're providing the time and the training of our staff. So this is our first year of implementation with Second Step, and there, of course, with anything, there's a learning curve, right? And so we're allowing a lot of grace to our staff as they learn to teach these very explicit curriculum in their classroom. I can say I helped a teacher actually here at Colin Powell teach one of the lessons when I came in, and it's being done at the beginning of the day in their homerooms. So this is the SEL time. It's really important that you carve that time out. And so these are just some of the things that the Second Step program will provide. Certain learning skills, empathy, emotional management, and problem solving. And so when our students one of the things I really love is the emotional management. Like if you look up there, I want to just point that one out specifically. So stop and use your signal. So who in here knows when they get frustrated, and what do you usually do? Anyone? Breathe maybe. Sometimes you walk away. Some people smile. I have a tell when I get frustrated. My staff knows. I put up the praying hands. It's like, oh, let me get myself together. As I regulate, basically self-regulation, these are things that you actually have to explicitly teach children so that their first inclination is not to just start swinging, fighting, or even sometimes throwing tantrums. And for those who have young ones, you know that the reason why our young people do those things is because they don't have the skills or the sophisticated language just yet. And so our goal is to provide that to them. Name their feelings, calm down, breathe, count, or use positive talk. Like, this is frustrating, but I know I can do it. Self-affirmations and things like that. All right, so I'm going to get into a couple more slides, and then Dr. McCoy is going to take the mic. So, there are quite a few things that we are required to do, but as parents, you have the right to opt out of them, but as a district, we must provide access to them. So, parents can choose to not have their children participate, but we as a school district, because of the law, cannot not teach it. Okay? I always try to make that distinction with parents. And so, Aaron's Law, and this is, I'll read it. It requires all students in grades pre-K to 12 in Illinois to experience age-appropriate learning opportunities regarding sexual assault and abuse and prevention. And so we have to have these annually, and they build upon the skills. So if they have the program in first grade, second grade, the program will build on that. All right? And then they have to include techniques to teach children to recognize sexual abuse, equip them with skills to reduce their vulnerability. This is really powerful because it is teaching children how to keep themselves safe, advocate for themselves, and use their voices. And how we do it, what we use is childhood victories. Victor Piccini he is the person who created this. He is also the person who speaks about his own childhood trauma. It's a pretty powerful story that he tells. And these are what the goals of the program, to create a safe and engaging environment where children will learn about the dangers of safe and unsafe touch. And again, we want to make sure that our children, have all of the tools to keep themselves safe. The next one is Critical Health Problems and Comprehensive Health Education Act. So, and Ms. Moore just came in here this morning. And so, part of what we do as a school district is provide our comprehensive plan. A lot of it is mandated by the state. The state does not tell you how to do it, they tell you you must, and then it's up to us to figure out how. And so this one is just the Public Law Act 102-05-2022. And basically it is that we must teach comprehensive personal health and safety, comprehensive self-health education. Again, you can opt out of these things, but we cannot not teach them because they are public laws. So we use Candor. And Candor, they used to be called Robert Crown. If you've been around a long time, Robert Crown, a lot of people are shaking their head because when you were a child, they were called Robert Crown, they're now just called Candor. And they come in and they provide puberty, sex, and drug education from grades 4th through 8th grade. And then my next slide, I have this is puberty 2. And this is the actual program goals. I always try to let parents know, because you start talking about puberty and things like that, it can make people uncomfortable that we are going to talk about reproductive organs, the role of hormones, but also how do you stay safe online as well. So I always try to make sure that parents are very much aware of what is going to be taught. So there's a puberty 1 and there's a puberty 2. This puberty 2 is usually like 5th grade. And so this is the program goals. I just like to be as explicit about that as possible. And then for everyone, we are very, very lucky to have the resources that we have in our buildings. We have a social worker, and now we have a new school counselor, Ms. Williams, at Colin Powell. One of the things that has always been important to me, and especially important to me as a superintendent here, is that we have the people and the resources that our students need right away on the spot. And I love and make sure that I tell parents we have these resources for your young people. And so these are the great social workers and the school counselor. And if you look around, you'll see these, October is anti-bullying prevention month. And we've been doing a lot of campaigns around that, our Say Hello campaign. You see these signs, the students made these signs about being safe. Behind you, they have this Be Kind wall where you can take a slip and they have affirmations on them, really kind things on them. And you can take one and give it to someone. So a lot of it is about creating an atmosphere where everyone feels loved and cared for. All right, I have a couple more slides and then Dr. McCoy. So another thing, we have a communities in school grant that we were awarded, and I said, well, what's one of the great ways that we can utilize the funds? And we have partnerships with 2 counseling services, and last year, and it is because we are using money from our grant, this is free services to parents and their families. And so there were about 37 families that took advantage of this last school year. And so Gaskin is one of them, and all you have to do is call the number and tell them you're from Elementary School District 159, and they will do an assessment of your child, or if you need family services, and then it's at no cost to you. And so we pay for that out of the grant, our community and partnership grant. And then our next one is S&T Medical and Behavioral Health Center. Again, you call and you tell them that you are a wonderful family from Elementary School District 159, make an appointment, and the services are free to you. All right. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McCoy. He's going to go through the not so fun stuff. No, I'm joking. All right, come on, Dr. McCoy.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brunson. Once again, I'm Dr. McCoy, Assistant Superintendent of Operations and Educational Services. I'm going to go through the presentation, just really going into the different safety logistics that we have in our school district. So once again, greetings, parents, families, members of staff, members of the board, principals, school leaders. Glad to have you here this evening. So with our safety drills, so of course it is a mandate that we have our safety drills in place. So every year we must do 3 fire drills. We must do 1 shelter-in-place drill, which is related to if there was like a tornado or a storm warning, and then a bus evacuation drill, and then 1 lockdown drill. So making sure that communication is given to school leaders so that they're ready for, in case certain things like this may happen, that we have those procedures in place. And so I make sure that that communication is there and that we are implementing the different drills. And even today, we had a lockdown drill at our district office in collaboration with the Madison Police Department. And we also work with the Richland Park Police Department as well as the fire departments, just to make sure these things are in place and are done the right way. So my hats off to the school leaders this school year as well as last school year, just making sure these things are happening and reaching out if they need support. And I do my best to make sure that I'm present in those cases as well. At the district level, we also have crisis management / threat assessment team. And so at the district level, I meet with them once a month. It's comprised of clinicians, teachers, and members of staff. And so what we do is we meet once a month and we discuss what we would do in the case of a crisis. What is our threat assessment plan? And these are all state mandates that we make sure we're doing as a school district. But at each school there also are individual schools have their own crisis management and threat assessment teams. at each school, and they meet at least once a month as well. So what we do is, at the district level, when we meet, we try to disseminate that information to our individual schools so that when they talk, it's all aligned, and we're all on the same page when it comes to our procedures, as it relates to crisis, as it relates to threats. And one thing we emphasized this school year is just making sure we were very clear on our procedures when it came to a lockdown drill. And so making sure our communication is clear, making sure those procedures are happening, because we know what time and what day and age we're in, and things happen, so we want to make sure we're ready. So what is a crisis? So a crisis is a situation that occurs as the result of a traumatic event and alters significantly the ability to carry out day-to-day activities by students and the school community. So this is, I like to say, this is your reactionary response when a crisis happens. And the crisis could be an array of different things, anything that would disrupt the school environment. During my time as a school leader, unfortunately I've had students that have passed away, students that have gotten shot. I've also seen, members of staff that might have passed away during my time as a school leader as well. So making sure that we have the right things in place to handle those type of situations, right? A crisis could be a health concern that's going on. It could be something that's going on in the community, in society. All those different things that would disrupt the school environment. So the word crisis implies that the individual's usual coping mechanisms may not be sufficient to handle a given situation. So just like it says, it could be death of a classmate, it could be something violent that was witnessed, natural disaster, so many different things that can affect just your day-to-day. And so making sure that we have a plan in place and we have people that know how to handle these different things. So now a threat. So I look at the threat as the proactive response. So when we have a threat, we have to make sure that we're assessing it to determine if it is a threat. So a threat assessment is the process of evaluating the risk of violence posed by someone who has expressed the intent to inflict harm on another. Threat assessment evaluates the context and circumstances of the threat in order to uncover any evidence that the threat may be carried out. A priority of a threat assessment is the development of interventions and follow-up activities that are developed to manage and reduce the risk of violence. So if we do get a threat, it could be via social media, right? A student making a threat. It could be something that happens in school where a student may have threatened someone. It could be a visitor or a guest coming into the building that makes a threat towards the school community. All those different things could pose as a threat, so we want to make sure that we are equipped to assess that and handle it accordingly. And in some cases, that may be going on a hard or soft lockdown. And that's when those drills just come into play, and they're so important so that we're in good practice. A threat is an expression of intent to harm someone. Threats can be verbal, gestured, or written. It may also be direct or indirect. Weapons possession is presumed to be a threat unless circumstances clearly indicate otherwise. And so making sure that we understand what is a threat, how do we handle the threat, and then how do we make sure that everyone feels comfortable again and safe in the school community. So this is lockdown communication. So once again, one of our priorities as a school district was to make sure that we were very clear on our lockdown communication. We wanted to make sure that we understood the difference between a hard and a soft lockdown in the case a threat is taking place. And so these two posters are posted in each classroom, in each school. We also have them posted in the district office so that everyone understands what's the procedures for soft lockdown or hard lockdown. And so it's very important that everybody understands those details. And so the one that I'm looking at is on the right, which is really just keeping it really simple in regards to what to do when there's a soft lockdown, what the students are doing, what the teachers are doing, and then hard lockdown, what the students are doing, what the teachers are doing. And so we wanted to make sure that was very clear because we know if there's a state of emergency where you have to go on a lockdown, people have anxiety, they're in a state of panic, and you'll forget what those procedures are. So making sure that you have something that you can view and go over on a daily basis, but then making sure those drills are happening behind it. And our school leaders have done a great job of just making sure the communication has been thorough to their staff, to their students, and staying in good practice with implementing the drills, but then also collaborating with our police departments when it comes to this. So our police department has been on site when our schools have been conducting their drills to give their feedback. And the same thing happened today at district office. Madison Police Department was there to give feedback on things we may need to improve, things that we could do better, or things we need to implement, or to just say, hey, this was a great job, keep these things in mind. So in a situation that may cause for a lockdown, so this is some things that's just very important for our parents just to understand. So while it is understandable that you are concerned about your child's safety, it is advised by the district and law enforcement that parents await further information. So I know that can be, very challenging, but it's very important that you all wait to get that communication before jumping to any conclusions, because we want to make sure that you all are safe in the event that there is a lockdown. The district will be sending out updates during the soft or hard lockdown as best as we can, but our primary responsibility is working to alleviate the issue of concern that warranted the lockdown. So a lot of times I'm already there. If there's that crisis or threat situation, I'm already there proceeding to it, gathering that information, and we're doing our best as a team to make sure that we're getting that communication to you as soon as possible. So we understand that, but just being a little bit patient with how soon that communication may come. But we're going to be on it because we understand we want everyone to feel safe, and we do our best to make sure you have that. So what should I not do as a parent? So please refrain from calling the building during a soft lockdown. The main office assists building administration in the resolution and in the hard lockdown. So they may be hiding out as well. So we're on the lockdown, so they're not by the phones, right? Please do not approach the building or attempt to enter. This is for your safety and those inside. If there is an active shooting going on or something like that, right? We want to make sure that you all don't get caught up in that if there is a situation. Please attempt to only share information that is factual, because inaccurate information or inflammatory rhetoric could needlessly exacerbate the situation. So we wanted to make sure that the communication isn't getting lost and it's causing more mass hysteria than it already is. Because when you call for a lockdown, people already are feeling some type of way. They already are panicked and anxious, and if we're adding fuel to that type of fire, then it can really get out of hand, right? So we just want to make sure that we're doing our best to make sure that communication is done properly. So I want to go into just the student parent handbook as it relates to just safety. And this is just very important so that everyone's on the same page when reviewing this. So weapons. So weapons of any and all kinds that may be used to cause bodily harm, including but not limited to pens, pencils, knives, guns, firearms, rifles, shotguns, metal picks, cones, brass, ceramic knuckles, billy clubs, laser pointers, weapons, instruments, substance, or any other object that reasonably can be considered a weapon to cause bodily harm are prohibited in the school building, on school grounds, on school property, at school activities, and at school-related events. And this is important because oftentimes, students may think, hey, I'm playing with this BB gun or whatever, this not really a weapon, they bring it on school grounds, and then they find themselves in a very serious situation, right? Because if it looks like a real gun, we're going to treat it as such, right? And so now that ends up being a really severe consequence, such as suspension, the parent conference, and being up for an expulsion hearing. All because, they might have just thought it was cool to bring something in, or they may have forgot that they had the BB gun from someone else. Whatever it is, you're putting yourself in a situation, because we're looking at that as a direct threat whenever you bring weapons of any kind into the school building. I want to touch on this because we noticed just an uptick in incidents related to this, so this is just very important. Vapes, drugs, any illegal substances, and tobacco products and paraphernalia, specifically the vapes. And so vapes are something that has become very trendy, so I want to make sure that it's clear that these things aren't allowed, and this could lead to a very serious consequence as well. Up there with bringing a weapon in, depending on the situation. So we want to make sure that we are reiterating this, because you may have a child in the home, and if they find that vape and they just think it's cool and they want to carry it into the school building, then they're going to find themselves in a situation. So it's just so very, very important that parents and families, that you are reiterating these things, so that your child understands the dangers of it. And so this is just very important. All right, so this is related to our touchless detectors that have arrived. So the touchless detectors have arrived. I've been coordinating with the vendor for training and then implementation. And that's going to take place within the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be sending out communication tomorrow. I just confirmed the training date, along with when we'll start rolling it out. We're going to roll it out school by school, starting with Colin Powell. Just because it's the largest school, and it's at the middle school level. So, being at the middle school level, we may see more things arise of that magnitude that will require a detector. So we want to make sure that we're safe. And so this has been communicated to school leaders and to their staff. And so signage and notice. So all schools and district office and STEM center will have metal detectors. So we'll all have metal detectors, and there will be signs posted outside the entrance to be used for metal detector screenings, to the effect that any person who enters the building may be subject to search. So as far as this activation, it goes through the protocol on what happens if the touch detector is activated. We'll have two members of staff to be supervising the detector, one to watch the person that is coming through the detector, and then one that's going to be reviewing the actual screen that is shown if the person does have some type of weapon on them. And so with these touch detectors, it pops right up on the screen and it zeroes in on where that weapon may be held. So, I'm going to number 2 because I just touched on number 1. The student or visitor shall be asked to relinquish any metal or suspicious items. So, a school official should then conduct a second metal detector screening. So this is in the process. Let's say we do notice that they may have something on them or something like that. We'll ask them to simply, empty their pockets just as you would if you were to go, let's say, to a sporting event. If they refuse to relinquish the item, then we'll move to step 3, as this may propose a potential threat, right? Because they're breaching our security in the sense where they say, no, I'm not going to empty my pockets, right? So if a weapon or contraband is discovered, the school administrator should call the district office, then call 911, then call the parent if it is a student. A school official should keep the student under observation in a private area where no one is around until a sworn law enforcement officer arrives. So this is something that we have talked through, we have worked through. It's been communicated with the board as well. I also worked with Chief Scott, right, who's chief of the Roberts Police Department, in going through this and putting this together. I talked to Officer Evans several times, and we went through and we talked through this But now we're getting to that point where we'll be going through the training with the vendor on how to operate this machine and to make sure that we're doing things the right way. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to implement it at each school. And we're going to go school by school. So we'll start with Colin Powell. We'll see how it goes. We'll monitor it that morning of. And then we'll go to the next school, and the next, and so forth. Because we don't want to implement it all at once, because if there is an issue, then I'll find myself bouncing around, being really spread thin, trying to make it happen. So we want to make sure that it's a focused implementation. All right, this is just a reminder as it relates to an active program that we have here at Colin Powell called My Powell Schools, which allows for students to make anonymous reports as it relates to each of these components. So if there's some bullying going on, they have a personal crisis, fighting, or a school threat, a student can anonymously, it's actually a website. They go to a website, they can fill it out, the form, it's anonymous, and once they fill out that form, it kicks back to the school administration, myself, Dr. Brunson, and then we handle that situation accordingly, whatever that may be. So we just want to remind you all just that we do have this in place, and students do use it. So we want to make sure that we just reiterate that information. All right, I'm going to have Officer Evans to take it away.
Well, Officer Evans is switching. He's switching. He has his information on the hard drive. Does anyone have any questions while we have this? Yes, ma'am. Okay, we got a couple questions. Got to run down.
I'm probably loud enough, but
yeah. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
I have a student at Colin Powell and I have a student at Woodgate. Mm-hmm. My concern was I'm pretty good at checking emails. I never seen anything about a metal detector implementation going to the school. Yeah. Is that something that we knew about, or is it just?
Yeah, I have sent letters home. It was in my most recent letter that I sent home that said that they were coming. Yep. And so now that they are here, and we also talked about it in the board meeting. It's been several places and several times that we have actually talked about it. Yeah, since last school year. So we've been talking about it since last school year, multiple times. How do you feel about it?
I don't like it. I'm not even sugarcoat it. I don't like it. These are bad. I'm a person that came from Chicago to the south suburbs for a reason, and there were certain things that I felt were unsecure and unsafe in Chicago. So for me to bring my kids out here, it's kind of like I didn't really bring them here for that. And we were just discussing about the school lines and prison pipeline. I just feel like that's kind of bringing it back towards that situation to make our kids feel a certain way.
I really appreciate that. So the reason why I started our conversation today, the way that I started it, is so you can understand that this is a comprehensive plan that we have. You know, I completely agree with you. I wish and hope that we would not have them, but hope is not a strategy to keep our children safe. You know, and so the point of it is we have to keep all of us safe, because we have had incidents, like we've actually had incidents. You know, so unfortunately we live in America. There are more guns in America than people. And at this time, they just had a mass shooting of 22 people just, 2 days ago. And so we would be remiss in not providing all the supports and all the ways of keeping our children safe, from teaching them how to interact with each other without thinking they need to bring, as the kids said, that thing to here. You know what I mean? To keep them from not doing that. But also, we don't want our children to feel like they're under surveillance and under, being policed. Absolutely not. But we have to, be in reality, live in reality, and make sure that we provide your children with a safe place. Okay. Okay.
I actually have 3 points. I'm trying to
Sure,
make.
that's okay.
I wanted to know, what does the time and the process look like with the children starting at Colin Powell coming into those detectors? Because they are here, to learn, and
do it first. Let me answer that first. So, I don't know if you've ever seen the touchless metal detector. Has anyone been to a Bears game or a concert or anything like that? They're just literally two poles. And you just walk through. Just like they walk through the doors now, they'll just walk through. And it will detect if there's something, it will light up. And then if we detect something, they'll just be asked to step to the side. I do want to make sure that everyone understands it. I have been very clear about this. That at no point are we creating a police state in our schools. We do not want our children to feel that way, but we would be remiss in not providing this extra added, level of security. But it literally is just, that's why they call it touchless. It's not like at O'Hare where you have to take everything out and things like that. We will not be patting kids down and everything. It's just simply them walking through like that. That's why we chose those. When I was a principal when I worked on the west side of Chicago, they were old school. You had to put them and they went on a roller and all of that kind of stuff. And that was when I was administrator of high school. It would take us 30 minutes to get the kids through because they had to take that stuff out of the backpack. So it's not like that at all.
My now. Is there a link? It used to be on the website, but I don't see that anymore because we actually attempted to go onto it, and when I went on directly onto my town website, it only gave a demo form to fill out.
So if on the Colin Powell website, if you go up there, it's in the left-hand corner. As soon as you open up theirs, it pops up right up there. And then it's also there around the building as well because it's an app. And so if you go on there, it'll be right there. It pops right out. Yep.
And then lastly, so with implementing these new detectors, are we going to put on some form of, not necessarily assembly, but gather the students together to, make it a smoother transition for them, but especially younger kids so that they understand, and it's not in the sense of, a bad place, but educating them, like maybe you are going to make the connection of going to get on the airplane. So I think the younger kids, especially in elementary, should definitely have some type of embracement or, introduction of that.
Thank you. So that's part of the training that's going to happen is that they are going to have an assembly, being able to let them know that this is just part of the plan and what to do when you walk through. All of that, Dr. McCoy is working on all of that because that's also the reason why we're rolling them out one school at a time, because we want to be present for the first time, the first couple of days to see how it goes. I'll be there, he'll be there, and we'll watch to see, because there's always going to be pain points, and it's like, how does it work, how did it work? So that's, sometimes you got to go slow to go far, and so that's always been my philosophy around that. So yes, the students will know exactly what to do, and I promise you, it's just walking through, walking through. If we didn't tell you they were there, you probably wouldn't notice them, because they literally look like, they're just two poles that you just walk through. So, all right. Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes, so we are actually recording this, and we're going to send this recording out and the PowerPoint presentation. Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. How you doing, Mr. Payne?
Hello, good evening. I just want to clarify that, as it was mentioned earlier, that there is another administrator who will be monitoring the screen attached to these metal detectors. So I just want to make sure these are not the X-ray type machines, because that's why it necessitates another person. I thought one person would be enough to know if there's light or sounds the metal is detected. So, and also like it's a similar looking to the one installed, for example, which central is or less like, obvious to the smaller kids.
So I can't speak to what it looks like in Ridge Central because I may have walked by them and didn't pay attention. At this point, I don't really pay that much attention to it, when I walk in there. But the reason why you have to have, I will say this. There are already people at the doors now at every school when you enter. So if you come through the doors, so here especially at Colin Powell, there are 3 different entrances based on 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. There are already people that are there right now welcoming your students in the buildings anyway. So it won't feel any different. It won't look any different, because that's really important, but it will be different. Because if something does, beep or whatever, then they have to go into action. But this is also part of not panicking. That's why they'll be trained before we implement, and then we'll be monitoring kind of how it goes, and then we can make any adjustments as necessary. Okay, thank you. Okay. I feel like Oprah. Hey. I just don't have a car. That's okay.
I'm just wondering how the staff feel about this. It's making a lot of requirements on them, now they're checking as like their security, so I'm just wondering from that standpoint.
Yes. So, this is a delicate, I'll be very delicate with the answer. People don't feel necessarily safe right now. This provides you with that added sense of security. I think always there's always the fear of the unknown. But overall people have been open to it. There's always 1 or 2 people who aren't. I will tell you this, that we have talked to the staff, and for those who are not comfortable with being the ones that do it, we are not forcing or requiring anyone to do that. That's why we have administrators, and they'll be the ones doing it. But if someone said, I'm not comfortable with that, we would not put them in that position. Okay? But I will tell you that the students, when I talk to them, this is especially at the middle school, these are things that they have asked for. Like they've said things like they don't feel safe. And, because our young people are seeing what's happening in the world. You know what I mean? And it's supposed to be the safest place in our community, but unfortunately we have had some real incidents of her. Ms. Morgan?
I would just want to mention that we as a board have identified some of those concerns, especially when it comes to our staff. So we are also in the process of vetting out a security firm or some type of firm that, it will look like natural people that are walking around, especially with our suspension rate being high at Colin Powell. But we are vetting out, a company that will sit within those metal detectors, because we understand that teachers don't feel safe. They may not want to touch, the children, or, that when we experienced the last activity at one of our schools, some of those teachers were really taken back from that. So that is one of the things that we are, and it should be on our agenda for November, but we do have some companies that submitted and are interested in coming into our school to man those, so that is something that is currently in the works.
All right.
My next question is, since it is a metal detector, what about when the students are walking in with their phones, or sometimes the chemical cups, or something that, or even some kids that may have medical issues or metal plate or anything?
So things like medical issues, we should know all of those. If we don't, it literally will outline it. It's like an outline. We can see if it's a phone, we can see if it's a lunchbox, it's pretty high tech and sophisticated. If it's a weapon, it will look like a weapon, those types of things. I know this is a very delicate, conversation to have, but the reality is everyone in here just walked through the door. I have no idea what you have in your pocket right now. And when people come to the building, sometimes they're not very happy with us, and in order for us to keep ourselves safe so that we can go home to our own families, there are moments like we've had irate, unhappy people who have come, and we've had to de-escalate situations. We actually did have an issue with someone who was in law enforcement, and I called Chuck about this one because he did not identify himself, but we could see it, and he did not want to identify himself as a law enforcement person, and I asked him to leave the district office. I called Chuck, and we found out that he was actually a state trooper or something, but the fact that he wouldn't even tell us, but I was like, you don't have to leave, sir, you can't be in here. It was just right there. And he made it through because he rang the bell, came through, and the only reason why we knew was because we could see it, because it was a lot acting rate, and we had to actually make him leave the building.
I just wanted to know in response to what you stated this morning about the other companies that will help administer those detectors, what authority do they have with our children? Like if they were to, find something, are they just working the machines and the staff is working with the student? Because then it makes me kind of think about the policing school, and I would fear for that to happen.
So, I have to say, we are at the beginning stages of that conversation, period. So there's no guarantees for that, there's nothing, it's just a conversation at this point to discuss, because there are lots of logistical things, and you are correct. The one thing we don't want to do is create a police state in our schools. So the board is very diligent, and will make the right decisions as it relates to that. And we will definitely make sure that parents and family members, family and community members, that your voices are heard especially with a decision like that. The board is very sensitive to that. We understand your concerns. Yes, ma'am. All right, Chuck, I think you're up, buddy. Take us home.
Hi, my name is Officer Evans. I'm with the Madison Police Department. I come here today to speak a little bit about bullying, but more important, to give you guys outside resources and some options, some other options that you guys might need or encounter. Just so you know, last school year I did a technology survey. This is some of the results that you're seeing up here over social media that have been bullied or threatened over social media. Social media companies are doing better, but they still have a way to go. Me being an outside resource with the Madison Police Department, I will tell you that a lot of it starts with the cell phones. In the schools, they don't buy the cell phones. They're bought primarily by the parents. But yet, the school is tasked with putting out fires on these social media platforms, which a lot of times the kids aren't even of age to be on those social media accounts. But the schools are tasked with handling that.
If you ever feel someone is harassing you or otherwise being inappropriate, help is available. TikTok does not allow harassment and wants to hear from you if it happens. Please report any concerns so we can take appropriate action. Try to remain calm and know that no person deserves to be harassed or bullied. We also recommend reaching out to someone you trust who can provide support. If you believe another user is being harassed or bullied, there are ways for you to provide support. You can make an anonymous report to us on their behalf using our in-app reporting tools. If the target of aggression is someone you know, consider checking in with them. If you are a caregiver, you can listen to your team, help them navigate account safety settings, and adjust or limit their interactions with other users on TikTok. Please remember, if someone is posing a real threat to your personal security or safety, be sure to call the police or local authorities for help.
So you can see that just with TikTok that they're trying to get ahead of the game. There's a long way to go, but I want to give you guys some certain steps that you can take if something should happen. Biggest thing is report it. If it's just harassment, when I say just, if it's harassment, it needs to be reported. Usually will come to the school. If it's reported soon enough, the school can take proactive measures and help reduce things from escalating. But it's very important that you also report it to the social media company. I'll say it again, report it to the social media company, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. These companies will help in a harassing environment. It violates the terms of service agreements that they are held accountable to. They can delete accounts and so forth. That's the easiest way to do it. But then again, if there's harassment going on, the school needs to be notified so they're kept abreast of what's exactly happening. And before I forget, please feel free to take any screenshots. I'll be giving you some resources, some numbers. Go ahead and photographed on the slides. Here's Facebook, what they want you to do in their messenger by giving feedback or report a conversation. Again, if this is happening over these social media platforms, which the school did not design, the school didn't tell your child to open these accounts and so forth, handle it with that company. Handle it with the company, unless it escalates into something further, which we'll get to. So harassment, we can block them, right? But how do we protect ourselves? Again, I did a technology survey, and this is some of the results, but know who your friends are. Colin Powell students, only 18% of students knew every contact in their social media platform. 58 knew most of them, 15%. 24% said no big deal. This is also huge right here, is that people are getting on other people's accounts and posting stuff as if it was that person. This is pretty shocking, but 27% of students are sharing their passwords. You simply can't do that. Again, it's not the school's responsibility to teach this, but it's the parents' responsibility to give them these guides, to keep them safe. What happens if there's an actual threat to life situation? This is where the police become involved. What we want you to do is preserve everything. That means screenshots, take pictures, keep all those text messages. Do not delete those text messages. Do not delete those pictures. We want to preserve them. We need screen names, IDs, telephone numbers, pictures, conversations, but do not contact, in this case, once it escalates into something serious where if there's a threat to life, do not contact social media company. But the biggest thing is, tell your parents. Tell your parents. So I asked, if you had problems on your social media, who would you tell your parents? 56% said they would tell, which is awesome. It's over half, that's pretty good. 13% were unsure, 31% would not tell. We got to change that because we got to protect our kids. We don't know what they're doing on their phones at night and on their social media accounts. So what we need is an emergency plan for our kids. And this describes the best way.
I saw this guy speaking at the school the other day. I had no idea what was going on your social media. Listen, I know mom and dad were going like this to you, but none of that. If you come to us, and if you feel like someone's making you do something you don't want to do, or someone's making you feel bad about yourself, you need to come to us. If you come to us, we're going to give you that golden ticket. And that golden ticket means that we're not going to give you consequences. We're not going to ground you. You're not going to lose your phone. We're not going to keep you from your friends. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the average internet predator has 250 victims in their lifetime. 250. And odds are, if they're doing something bad to your kid, they're doing it to 20, 30 others at the same time. So the technology talk is so important.
So this leads me to the question of how do we tell our children what's appropriate and inappropriate to post on social media accounts? Anybody have a clue? What the standard might be? I think I got a pretty good standard coming up here.
If your pastor doesn't approve.
I'm sorry?
If your pastor doesn't approve of it.
I came up with a three-prong test. And the three-prong test is very simple. When you go to send that message, or when you go to send that picture, the three-prong test involves your parents, priest, or principal. If you can't share with these people, it's probably not wise for you to post it, right? I think that's probably a good standard to have. I got this quote off of somebody. It says, consider this. I have no intentions of giving my kids phones with internet access until they are essentially adults. Social media destroys kids in spun into a vortex of pain and suffering. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I've been on the street for a little while, and I see mental health crisis with adults, and especially kids, absolutely skyrocketing. Skyrocketing. Where it's almost every single day inside this community we're getting calls for mental health. And ever since COVID, it's really been a big need. And what's great is that there's now police training for critical incident response teams in police departments, is that we're trained with mental health issues, mental health behaviors and so forth. And things in policing has really changed for the better. So here's some resources that I want to talk to you about. Please feel free to take these photos of these slides. The first is SafeToHelp.il.com. This is the State of Illinois website. Anything from abuse, bullying, depression, self-injury, and suicidal thoughts. Yes, suicidal thoughts. Kids are starting to hurt themselves in record numbers, and we need to make sure the lines of communication are open. Open and help is available. This is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I asked students in the survey again if they heard of Safe to Help, and this is the results here. We need to get the word out a little bit better. The state of Illinois is starting to advertise this as well. Mental health crisis, 988, that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is when they have a mental health crisis, this is one of the outside resources that can help them right away. And it's available right on their cell phones. This is pretty cool too. I'm proud to give out this information that there are now mobile health care crisis teams that you call in your time of crisis, whether it's 2 in the morning, whatever, they will come out to your house. Not the police. The police might be there. We got to make sure the scene's safe. But once everything's safe, these mental health care workers will come out and they'll work with you. They will actually come to your house. This is one of the crisis lines. This Grand Prairie Services actually take a picture of one of their cars that had the phone number on there once at call, because they were out at somebody's house and giving them mental health aid. They're located in Tinley Park, and their phone number is up there accordingly. They're available, again, 24 hours a day. Getting back to social media, these are some of the apps that you can have as parents to help monitor and control what's going on with your kids, which sounds scary if you're a kid. But what's nice is that with these social media apps, specifically we'll get into one, it doesn't monitor every single thing. What it looks for is keywords. So if you put in, a parent can put in self-harm, can put in anything sexual related, whatever, and things will come up. It'll alert the parent, but there's a slide in here that'll explain things a little bit better. Right here.
As a parent, you never want to see your child struggling with suicidal thoughts. But this issue is hidden so deep in their phones. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for kids. The cyberbullying just makes it so much more present reality. That's why I rely on BARK, built by parents for parents. BARK's award-winning dashboard monitors text messages, emails, and over 30 apps and platforms for potential safety concerns. When BARK detects digital danger, I receive an automatic alert, so I'm able to address the issues as they arise, while respecting my son's privacy and not needing to read through every single message. BARK delivers research-backed recommendations for dealing with the issue. This helps me and my son work together, trust each other, and build a deeper bond. The screen time management and web filtering tools help me set healthy limits around how and when my kids use their devices. Plus, their data is always protected and private, which gives me further peace of mind. To date, BARK has helped protect millions of children and detected tens of thousands of severe self-harm situations. We spend so much every month just trying to keep ourselves entertained, but I find the real value in investing in my son's safety and wellness. Art brings us closer together. So, can we talk?
One of the things that I didn't include in this slide that I want to tell you about is doing sexual predators cases and so forth, specifically sextortion. What I want to let parents know is the biggest danger in every sextortion case that we've encountered, there's one factor. And the factor is where your kids charge their cell phones at night. Because when your kids are in their rooms and so forth, and they're behind that locked door, or perhaps unlocked, you don't know what they're doing. You can't hear them, because why? They don't need to talk. They can type. They can type, and then they can perform. And as a parent, you'll have no idea, but getting back to charging the phones, if you charge, do not let your kids charge a phone at night in their room, because that's the time when it's happening. Also, what we want to do as parents is that we get ourselves trapped into this social media, sells ourselves as adults, and our brains are developed, our children's brains, it takes until they're about 25 years old to become fully developed. They're not ready for these social media apps. Mentally, the brain is not developed. So what we want to try to do is we want to try to perhaps limit our kids on social media apps. And here's how.
This is my favorite one, which is screen time. If you think that you are spending too much time on an app or social media or whatnot, it's good to go ahead and turn this feature on, and you can set up app limits, different timings for whatever reason you want. I'll select social, and I'll pick an app as an example, and I'll put a time frame like 1 hour, and I'll just hit add on top, and after 1 hour, this app will close on me. You can also do that for your kids if they're using your phone or your iPads. Next goal.
Finally, this is a great tool that the school district has implemented and so forth. It brings, it opens a communication between the parties, between parents, children, and the school. Being proactive as a parent, it's tough to do, especially with these phones. But if you're not checking in on these phones and on these apps and on these social media sites, you're missing out on a lot, because there's a lot going on within them. So just try to be proactive. And again, the school supports you if there's problems, but also with these outside resources, it should help at least mitigate some things. There's my information. If you need to ask me questions, my phone number is on there along with my email address. Again, I'm Officer Evans. I'm the School Resource Officer, and I'm proud to be in the school district and to help assist our kids in any way that I can to keep them safe. If you have any questions, feel free to stop. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our presentation. Board members, do you all have anything that want to close us out? Do you have any questions? Additional questions, anyone? No? All right. Thank you all for coming. We recorded everything, so it'll be on our website for those who couldn't make it. I hope you found this to be as comprehensive as possible, because we want to make sure that you know that we take your children's safety and well-being very seriously. So please drive safely, and thank you very much.